Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with the Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. It's Gav and I'm just back very briefly to give you all a bit of a news update which is relating to the ownership of the club. It's broken this morning that eventually it appears that Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven will be selling their shares in Sunday FC. As reported by Tom White, our good friend, Sunderland supporter Tom White, news presenter of Sky Sports News, first thing this morning on his Twitter account, that Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven have accepted a bid for their shares in Sunday FC. More information on the buyers will be coming in the next few days by all accounts, so I presume that'll be names and details on their intentions perhaps. Tom has also reported that the deal needs AFL approval, so nothing is set in stone, but it is pretty much expected that a deal will be done within the next 5 weeks, and that a representative of the group was actually in the boardroom for the playoff semi-final first leg against Sheff Wed at the Stadium of Light. Tom also reported that the offer was initially accepted prior to the game at Wembley, and that whilst the deal has not reached exclusivity, it's expected imminently. So what does this all mean for Sunderland? Well, obviously it means that one thing is going to be sorted this summer, and that will be the ownership situation, and that there will be renewed investment in the club from a new group. Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven obviously took a bit of a step back from the limelight a couple of seasons ago and have operated sort of in the background. Depending on who you listen to, some more than others believe that these guys have had more influence than perhaps has been let on, but publicly at least it's been the case that these guys have sat in the background. They've wrote the cheques to cover the running costs of the club, but ultimately the running of the club fell into Kyril Louis-Dreyfus's hands when he bought his shares in Sunday FC. And it was interesting at Wembley to see Kyril and Juan Sartori sat together. That was very prominent, and that's another thing that Sky have reported actually, although it wasn't on Tom's Twitter account. In the article on skysportsnews.com, they've said that Kyril Louis-Dreyfus will remain as chairman and that Juan Sartori will keep his 20% of shares. So that means whoever is coming in, they aren't going to be able to buy up a majority of the shares in the club, but it does mean that it's a big sea change, a big shift, and also that there will be renewed investment in the club, new people coming on the board. I have heard rumblings from those close to the deal with that ear on the ground that the people coming in, there could be a possibility that shares will be made available to fans in order to buy up their part of the club, I guess, and that'll be interesting. If that is true, it means that our supporters trust are in a very good position to perhaps even take up part ownership of the club. But, I mean, it's all rumour and speculation at the moment. Don't take my word for it. Obviously, last week there were suggestions that a local businessman, a billionaire in fact, would perhaps maybe even have an opportunity to buy a stake in the club. Whether he's involved, do we know? Nothing solid's been said. His is the only name that we've heard. I think it was John Rees. So it's going to be interesting over the coming weeks and days. I mean, what do we want ultimately as a fan base? I guess that's what everyone's going to be asking. Is it a case of, did Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven just have to sell to anybody? What would we be happy with? Do we want them to sell to, there'll be plenty of William Stories around. There'll be plenty of Mark Campbells around, and I think most fans would agree that's not what we want. We want somebody to come in who's going to actually be able to contribute, who's got the money behind them to contribute, and ultimately somebody with the best intentions for the club. I think it's fair to say that Kyril Louis-Dreyfus does have the best intentions for the club, and it would be nice if whoever comes in, shares his viewpoint on the way the club needs to go forward, and ultimately is prepared to dip the hand in and rebuild this club. Now we're in the Championship, there's no need to cut corners in the way that we had to perhaps in League One when it comes to infrastructure and investment. And we can finally start to look to rebuild again and be a bigger and better club. And fingers crossed, eventually in the next few years, maybe even end up back in the Premier League. But we'll keep you updated on ROKER Report and the ROKER Report podcast as and when things change as in when news drops. I think like Tom said, we're gonna learn more about this group over the coming days. We might even come back with a bit more of a detailed podcast than this, with a larger group of Roker Report contributors just to talk about what's going on. But yeah, just keep your ear to the ground, stay informed, and fingers crossed, let's hope that the club is in a better position 5 or 6 weeks from now, as stated. Catch you all later, guys, and we'll see you soon.